We bow down and worship you. We glorify your holy name. We praise your holy name today. We bow down and worship you. We glorify your holy name. We praise your holy name
glorify your holy name.
We praise your holy name today.
Blessed be the name of Yah.
We praise you today.
Hallelujah.
We praise you today.
Hey everyone, it's Hadara. Some new music for you. All praise be to Yahuah. Praise be to Yahuah. Praise be to Yahuah. Praise be to Yahuah. Your word is the truth. Set apart in your truth. Set apart in your truth. Your word is true. Your word is true. Set apart in your truth. Set apart in your truth. There is none like you, oh yeah. There is none like you, oh yeah. There is none like you, oh yeah. There is none like you, oh yeah, oh and none like you. Praise be to Yahuah. Praise be to Yahuah. All the praise be to Yahuah. Praise be to Yahuah. Your word is true. Your word is the truth. Set apart in your truth. Set apart in your truth. Your word is true. Your word is true. Set apart in your truth. Set apart in your truth. There is none like you, oh yeah. None like you, oh yeah. There is none like you, oh yeah. There is none like you, oh yeah, who and none like you, Yahuah, none like you, oh yeah, who and none like you, oh yeah. Hallelujah.
Quick, sir.
satisfy me. Sovereign one, ancient of days, set apart is your name, and humbly I seek your face. Shabbat.
Yahuah, I would like to say Shabbat Shalom to you all, Mashpaka. It is wonderful to be here on this Shabbat, and it is great to see each and every one of you. I want to greet the family here on Fuse and also the family on YouTube. And if there's anyone listening in on Facebook, I want to say Shabbat Shalom to you all. It is indeed a barakah to be here and indeed a great delight. And we give Yahuah praise, honor, and esteem for showing favor, for showing compassion, for being merciful in bringing us into yet another Shabbat. We say Tuda Yahuah for bringing us through yet another week, in spite of the many obstacles that may have been placed in our way, in spite of all that the enemy may have sought to do in bringing down your people. We give Yahuah praise and esteem that you have seen us through, that you have brought us through. It is not by our own might nor by our own power, but simply by the will of Yahuah that we are here. And so we give Yahuah praise. We barak the great name of Yahuah today. And again we say Tuda Rabbah Yahuah for all that you do, for all you have done, and for all that you continue to do, and for all of your promises that you will fulfill. We say Tuda Halal Hu Yahuah. It is great to see each and every one of you here today, family. It is my hope that you are doing well. Halal Hu Yahuah. And I'm delighted to have this opportunity once again to assemble in the name of Yahuah, with the opportunity to fellowship with my brothers and sisters who love and esteem Yahuah, to separate ourselves from the craziness of this life, from the craziness of this world that can sometimes feel so overwhelming at times, that can sometimes feel so draining. We praise Yahuah for the opportunity to be able to come together with people who love and seek Him, with a people who desire to serve Him and to find Him, Halal Huyah, and that we might be found by Him. It is indeed a barakah, and so we give Yahuah praise, honor, and esteem. If you have been in the workplace like myself this week, then certainly you have encountered the mess. If you have been anywhere in this society, even if you have been in your home and you turn on the television, certainly you have encountered the mess. And so we praise Yahuah for the opportunity where we can come together and we can fellowship in His word, where we can be re-strengthened in His word, where we can be reassured and where we can be replenished and where we can be encouraged by Him. And so for that we say Halal Hu Yahuah. I want to say Shabbat Shalom to each and every one of you, Mashpaka. And may the barakah of Yahuah continually be upon you. May the strength of Yahuah continually be upon you. May the joy of Yahuah continually be your strength. Hallelujah. So let me begin by saying Shabbat Shalom to my Aki Trevin. It is wonderful to see you today, Aki, as always. Also want to say, not just to you, Aki, but to your Bayat, I say Shabbat Shalom. Also, I want to say Shabbat Shalom to my Akut Sharia. Wonderful to see you as always, Akut. May Yahuah just continue to barak you and strengthen you and keep you and your Bayat. And Aki Rob, I send my greetings to him also and the family. Let me say Shabbat Shalom also to my Aki Keith. Shalom to you, Aki, in the name of Yahuah. Greetings also, Shabbat Shalom to my Akut Jonas. It's wonderful to see you as always, Akut. And also to Aki Franklin, I say Shalom, Aki. Wonderful to see you. To my Aki Edward, the same to you, my Aki. To you and to your Bayat family. To everybody listening, to every house represented here, I want to say Shabbat Shalom. So even the names that I don't call, for those who I do not see represented on the screen, but you are listening, and even to those who might not be present in your homes today, I send Shalom. I send the Shalom of Yahuah. I want to say Shabbat Shalom to Aki Delayahu. It is wonderful to see you, my Aki. To Akut Carmen, greetings to you, Akut. Shabbat Shalom to you. To Akut Angela, I say Shabbat Shalom. To my Akut Amunah, greetings to you, Akut. Shabbat Shalom. Wonderful to see you as always. And also to the Akut, I believe that might have been Akut Sharon. They are sending greeting to my Bayat, Shabbat Shalom, and to the Akut. Also to my Aki Adi Al, I say greetings to you, Aki. To you and to your Bayat Shalom. A strong greetings in the strong name of Yahuah, Aki. Also to Akut Adelaide, it is wonderful to see you as always, my Akut, and so I greet you in the most awesome name of Yahuah. Also want to say Shabbat Shalom here to my Akut Sharon. Wonderful to see you as always, Akut. Shabbat Shalom and greetings. Welcome once again to the fellowship. Also to Akut Mary, to Akut Mahalia, and to Akut Mary, I say Shabbat Shalom to you, Mashpaka. Wonderful to see you as always. And of course to Akut Jeanette, I greet you in the great name of Yahuah. It is wonderful to see you all today, family. And you know, to the family who are not present here today, for whatever reason it may be, and even for those who are maybe will be coming later, I pray that Yahuah would just continue to cover over, watch over our mashpaka, watch over our people, and you know, whoever is not here today, may Yahuah just continue to barak them and smile upon them. And so we just give Yahuah praise, honor, and esteem. To my home, I say Shabbat Shalom, and from my house to your house, we say Shabbat Shalom to you all. Let me greet also the family on YouTube. I want to say Shabbat Shalom to Aki Jason there on YouTube. And also I want to say Shabbat Shalom. I'm not sure if this is Aki Jason's mom. Correct me if I'm wrong, Aki. But my mother's 8. I want to say Shabbat Shalom to you, and also to Aki Obadyahu joining us there on YouTube. I want to say Shabbat Shalom to you, and to all the rest of the family who are joining us via YouTube, whose names may not be represented on the screen because you have not typed anything. I want to say Shabbat Shalom to you. It is wonderful to have you, wonderful to know that you are joining us in this fellowship today, and we're just thankful and delighted that you are here. So Shabbat Shalom to you all, Mashpaka. We're going to be opening up in prayer here, and then there is a question from my Aki Obadyahu on YouTube. He tried asking me that question. Well, he asked that question on YouTube earlier in the week, and I tried to respond, but maybe my response was too lengthy, so YouTube would not allow me to to post a response. So I'd asked Aki if he would, when he come to the fellowship, if he would present the question again. And so he did. So I'm going to be responding to that question. And as we prepare to go into our lesson for today, family, I believe that we have an exciting study ahead of us. Looking forward to getting into the book of Mashali. Proverbs chapter 11 is where we are this week. So I'm looking forward to jumping into chapter 11. And you know, my Asha, my wife, was reading from Yahuah, Ezekiel chapter 22 this morning. And I think that it ties, Ezekiel chapter 22 ties in so much with some of what is being said in the book of Mashali, the book of Proverbs chapter 22. And so perhaps we will take some time to read as we go through the book of Mashali chapter 11, Proverbs chapter 11. We might take some time to reflect or also on Ezekiel chapter 22. Okay, so we're excited about Yahuwah's word today, excited about what he has to speak to us today, to encourage us in today. And so I'm looking forward to getting into that. And as I reflect on the book of Yahuah, as a matter of fact, I'm going to come back to that point a little bit later on. But let us, for now, turn our faces toward the set-apart place of Yahuwah, the place that He has chosen, let us turn our faces toward that place today, Mashpaka, as we cry out to Yahuwah, Hallelujah, as we give Him esteem and honor and praise and baraka. And so we're going to turn our faces toward the set-apart place as we prepare to pray. When we come back after prayer, I'm going to respond to Mayaki Ubadyahu's question on YouTube. It's about playing the lottery. I'm going to respond to that. And also, before we go into our lesson, before we get into our lesson today, if there are any other questions or praise or comment, then I would like to open the mic briefly for that, okay? And then later on we can come back to questions and so on, but I'm going to open up the mic briefly. If you have a testimony, as a matter of fact, I would say even now as we prepare to pray, if there are any prayer requests in the room, the petition that you would like lifted before Yahuwah, then by all means I want to encourage you even now as we prepare to pray. I'd like to encourage you, family, to make that known if there is such. If you would like to come to the mic and just say what it is, then that would be wonderful. Or if you want to type it in, then that'd be great too. But if there are any prayer requests as we prepare to go before Yahuwah right now as an assembly, then here's an opportunity for us to lift them up together before Yahuwah. If not, we're going to go ahead and we'll open up in prayer, and then after that we'll come back and we'll open up the mic. I'm going to respond to Aki Ubadyahu's question, and then we'll open up the mic to praise Yahuwah. Aki, praise Yahuwah, Halalhu Yahuwah. Praise Father. Hallelujah. Yes, indeed. So we're going to be praying for Aki Franklin. We give Yahuwah praise, honor, and esteem for His provision. Praise Father. Healing in Kut Carmen's body. We praise Yahuwah for His provision for Aki Franklin. A few weeks ago, Aki Franklin came to the room and he asked that we pray concerning employment, and Yahuwah responded. And there's still petitions that have been lifted to Yahuwah, and we wait. As he says, wait, I say, on Yahuwah. Wait patiently on Yahuwah. And so we continue to wait for Yahuwah to act, because He does not forget. When we cry to Him, He hears and He does respond, you see. But His timing is not our timing. And so we have to exercise patience in the midst, you see. But we are confident that Yahuwah hears our cry and that Yahuwah responds. We are confident. As a matter of fact, I bear witness that Yahuwah shows favor to His people. Even when the enemy rises up against us, Yahuwah favors us, and the very schemes of the enemy, the very pit that the enemy digs for us, eventually turns against him. And so we give Yahuah praise, hallelujah, for his commitment to his people. And we praise Yahuah for hearing the cry of our Aki for employment, and he responded. And so now our Aki is asking that we pray that Yahuah would prepare him, that Yahuah would help him in getting ready to start his new job this week. Hallelujah. So we're going to lift that petition before Yahuah. And again, Aki, I just want to encourage you and to let you know that this is not, I'm not talking using this fact in the way that the Christians use it. But you can certainly do all things through Yahuah who strengthens you. And so you know, knowing that Yahuah has empowered you and he has equipped you to do what it is that he has appointed for you, you see. And so we give Yahuah praise and esteem for that, walking in that confidence, not in pridefulness, but in the confidence of Yahuah, knowing that we are empowered by him, that we are guided by him, that we are educated by him, enlightened by him, you know, empowered by him, all of that. Hallelujah. So we want to go and lift up these petitions before Yahuah as we prepare to pray. I also want to say to the Yahuah in our prayer for the healing that he is bringing about in our akut yariyah. And again, giving Yahuah praise and honor and thanks for having brought her through a successful surgery. We give Yahuah praise. We continue to lift up also Aki Yaram Yahu and his Mashpakai's family, Akut Yolanda and the Akut Vernice, you know. And so we just continue to lift up the family before Yahuah, because we serve a great Yahuah. We serve an awful Yahuah. What I'm saying is we serve a Yahuah that is full of awe. You see, when he acts and when he responds, if we know what we're looking at, when we see the works of Yahuah, then we would be left in awe. Now, we can miss it. We can miss the magnitude of his work. We can miss the magnificence of his work. We can miss the might of his work if we lack appreciation, and if we tend to take things for granted. Then we will miss the fact that Yahuah has truly done something great. You know, it's like you can look at something not knowing how the thing is made, and you can take it for granted. But it's not until you begin to take it apart, it's not until you begin to analyze it, it's not until you begin to dissect it, it's not until you begin to lift it up and to look underneath and to see how it comes together and how it works, that you realize just how complex it is. You see, our lives are complex, family, and we encounter situations from day to day that are very complex. But because of the greatness of Yahuah, sometimes we don't see the complexity. You see, sometimes we don't see the magnitude of the work that Yahuah does on our behalf. But I pray that Yahuah would not allow us to be complacent. I pray that Yahuah would not allow us to miss the magnificence of his work. Hallelujah. And so may we not take anything for granted that Yahuah does in our lives from day to day, but may he open our eyes to see the great things that he does for us each and every day. Hallelujah. That we do not run the risk of taking it for granted, that we do not run the risk of being unthankful. Praise Yahuah. Hallelujah. Praise Yahuah. So we're going to pray, family. Hallelujah. Praise you, Father. We turn our faces toward your set-apart place today. And, Father, we raise, I say it cautiously. Even as I say we raise set-apart hands to you. Because, the truth of the matter is, Yahuah, when we consider you and we consider ourselves, sometimes I wonder what it is in us that you see to be so set apart. Yahuah, we are truly unworthy of your barakah. We are unworthy of the kindness that you show to us and all that you bestow upon us. We are unworthy, Yahuah. But nonetheless, as we come before you today, we come with thanksgiving and with praise. We say, Tuda Yahuah for looking upon us with favor. Tuda Yahuah for all the great deeds, all the great acts that you have done on our behalf. We say, Tuda for keeping our bodies in alignment. We say, Yahuah, Tuda for all of your great barakut. We praise you, Father, for your provision, for your protection. We praise you for your favor. Father, we praise you that you do not allow those who seek our destruction to triumph over us. But Father, we praise you that you continue to protect us, you continue to guard us. And even though there may be people who prowl with evil in their hearts, with wickedness in their hearts, Yahuah, to bring harm, we praise you, Yahuah, that you keep the wicked restrained. Whether it is that when we lay in our beds at night, or as we travel down the streets, or as we go into public places, as we interact with our families and with each other, Yahuah, praise you that you do not allow wickedness to triumph over us. We say Tuda. We praise you for good health. We praise you, Yahuah, for sound minds. We praise you for food on our tables and for shelter over our heads. We praise you, Yahuah, for the desire that you put in us to seek and to serve you. We say to the Father for keeping our children, and we pray over them that you would give them clarity of mind. Father, we pray that you would give them wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, our children. Because there is much that compete for their minds and their hearts. But Abba Yahuah, I pray that you would gird them up. I pray, Yahuah, that you would draw them to you, that they would cry out to you, that they would have a desire and a passion for you. I pray that you would continue to lead them and to draw them. Hallelujah. Abba Yahuah, even now we praise and thank you for every prayer that have been answered, every petition that have been lifted to you and you have responded to. And Father, for those that you have heard, and we await the manifestation of your response, help us to patiently wait upon you, Yahuah, and not to lose heart, not to give up hope. Our hope is in you, Yahuah. And we pray that you would continue to barak and strengthen your people as we wait. Father, we praise you for your favor upon Aki Franklin in hearing his cry, his petition for employment. We praise you, Yahuah, that you've shown him favor and that he starts that job this week. Yahuah, as he goes, I pray, Yahuah, that he would be reminded that you have empowered him to function well in that job. Father, I pray that your favor would be upon him, that they would look upon him. You know, your word says that when we walk in obedience, that the nations would look upon us and they would call us Baruch. I am a witness to that, Father. I am a witness to that. And so, Abba Yahuah, I pray that you would barak your servant, your manservant. I pray, Father, that you would give him wisdom, knowledge, and understanding in all things, whatever he lays his hand to. And I pray also, I lift up my Akut Carmen to you today. And I pray that you would barak her body. I pray, Father, for good health, great health. I pray, Yahuah, that you would bring healing and restoration and straightness to her body. Hallelujah. Pray that you would drive out sickness and disease. I pray that their body, their cells would function the way that you created them to function. And Father, that they would not be affected by the man's manipulation of our foods and air and water and whatever we consume. I pray that you would preserve us, Father, in this environment of much wickedness, where they plot against your people for our destruction. I pray, Yahuah, that you would show favor and compassion upon us, and that you would keep us preserved, Yahuah. Keep us preserved. Do this, we pray. And for all of your people, with all your petitions today, those that are not mentioned, those that are not echoed, I pray, Father, that you would favor your people. You know the desires of the heart. You know the need of your people. And so, Abba Yahuah, I lift up your people before you, all of Yasharal, those assembled in this assembly and wherever we are assembled. I pray that your favor would be upon Yasharal. I pray even for my Akut al-Yashaba as she travels today to fellowship in a local assembly, that you would keep her safe. And anyone who may be doing the same, I pray that you would keep your people. Barak your people, I pray. Let your favor be upon us and lead us in your path of straightness. In Yahusha's name, Aman. Halahu Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. Halahu Yah. Praises to Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. We truly barak Yahuah today because he alone is great and he alone is worthy of our praise. And so we barak the great name of Yahuah. Hallelujah. To Yahuah, to Yahuah, to Yahuah be all esteem. Hallelujah. Praise Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. Hallelujah. Praise Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. Hallelujah. Praise Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. I feel the ruach of Yahuah on me. Praise Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. Hallelujah. Praise Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Barakatah. Yahuah. Hallelujah. Praise Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. Praise Yahuah. Praise Father. Practice a key and ask Yahuah to teach you. And he will. Praise Yahuah. You know, it is Yahuah. Yahuah, he empowers our praise. He anoints us to praise. You know. Praise Yahuah. Hallelujah. Praise Yahuah. Truly, 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 barak the great name of Yahuah. I barak the great name of Yahuah. You know, I'm not going to share a whole lot, but I just want to give Yahuah praise, honor, and esteem also. I wasn't intending on talking about this. But you know, whatever Yahuah does, it is important for us to give him the praise and the esteem. I work in an environment where Yahuah has truly shown me favor, right? And he has Yahuah has promoted me in this place, and because of his promotion, the favor of Yahuah brings out the worst in people. When the favor of Yahuah is on your life, it brings out the worst in those around you. You can look at Yahusha, for example, and there are many others that you can look at. But when the favor of Yahuah is on your life, it brings out the worst in those around you. You see, because the favor of Yahuah, yes, it brings out the worst, you see, because they become jealous and they become envious. That's right. And when they might be trying to stop you, when they might be doing everything that they can to stop you, it becomes frustration sets in, because they realize that none of their devices are working. That's when the favor of Yahuah is on you. So when the favor of Yahuah is on you, nothing that the enemy does can stop you. Nothing that the enemy does can stop you. You see, I just want to share a brief testimony, giving praise, honor, and esteem to Yahuah. I want to share a brief testimony, giving praise, honor, and esteem to Yahuah. You see, because we have to, you see, in church, when I was in church, I was taught that if I should go against Jesus, Zeus, then I would be cursed. Nothing would go right if I go against Jesus, you see. And in church, what our people continue to do is they continue to give the esteem of Yahuah to an idol. Yahuah hates that. He says that he hates that, you see. He says that he is jealous. And he warned Yasharal not to give his esteem to an idol. But in church, they're always quick to give esteem to their idol. And we, family, must be quick to give Yahuah the esteem that he deserves, you see. But so I work in a place where Yahuah has truly favored me. Okay? I work in a place where Yahuah has truly favored me. The department that I work in, I've been there for a little over 3 years, and when I started in that department, I was the most juvenile of my peers. Most juvenile when it comes to the experience, the work experience, because what I did in that department, when I started in the department, I really had no prior experience in doing, but it was the favor of Yahuah, number one, that got me in the door. Maybe I'm talking to you here in some of the things I'm saying here for a second, Aki Franklin. The favor of Yahuah got me in the door because I didn't have the experience to do what I was hired to do. I had my experience didn't. Okay, let me put it this way. So I was hired to load trucks. I didn't have any experience loading trucks. Okay, so when I got hired, I was the most juvenile in the department. I was the most juvenile when it comes to experience. So I was hired to use a forklift and load trucks, and to load a product on trucks that I've never handled before. And when I was hired and I was put in that position. And the way I'm not going to get into all of the details of the situation, but I could have been put in another area in the facility, but I was put in that area, and it worked out great. You see, because at the time I was 4 months behind in my rent. I was behind with gas and electric bill. I was behind with water bill. I was behind with everything. And when they put me in that department, what it allowed was, it allowed for me to work 20 hours, at least 20 hours of overtime each week. And when I first started, and what that did was it allowed me in very quick time to catch up with my back rent and things like that. So Yahuah orchestrated where they placed me. But then soon after being in that position, a year, remember now, I am the most juvenile in that department. But a year after being hired and put in that department, a year after, no, by the way, because of the favor of Yahuah on my life, I was the least experienced, but because of the favor of Yahuah on my life, number one, I learned quickly. And I went to work every day. Speaking what I know Yahuah is capable to do in my life. And so I went to work every day telling myself that I am going to be the best at this, that I'm going to be the best at what I do through the favor of Yahuah. I went to work telling myself that Yahuah is going to give me the know-how, that he's going to give me the smarts, that he's going to give me the ability, whatever I need, Yahuah is going to give it to me to be the best at what I do. Okay? I went to work telling myself that every day, believing that Yahuah will empower me to do this. And so a year after being hired and put in that department, I was approached by the site leader, my boss, and he said I've been observing. He said I've been observing your work ethic. I've been observing your demeanor. I've been observing your attitude. He's been observing a lot. And he said that I believe that you're the type of person that I want leading the department. And so a year after I started, I went from being the most juvenile, least experienced, to leading the department that I work in. Okay? And now, even before, you know what's interesting? The enemy and the seed of the enemy know you and recognize you. He see you coming. And because he know that you are a threat, he's going to work on you. He's going to put obstacles in your way. He's going to try to bring you down even before you can get up. You see, he's going to spread false rumors about you and all kinds of stuff. And so the amazing thing was, while I was being told that this is what I see in you, the fact of the matter is that there were individuals who were spreading rumors, false rumors about me, about my work ethic and about this and about that. False rumors they were. But yet Yahuah lifted me above the obstacle. He lifted me above the rumors. And the very people that were spreading the rumors, which one was in charge of the department, that one got demoted and I got put in his place. You see. And I was lifted above everyone else that were there before me. Okay? So, a year after I was put in a position of leadership, I just happened to be going by the other day and my boss called me and he said he wanted to talk to me for a second. And you know, some of the things he said to me was, you know, I wish I had 10 of you working here. And he began to list some of the things that he see about me, and just wanted to let me know that he appreciate the way I carry myself, and just a number of things that he stated. And family, I say to you, and he made a recommendation, because the department that I work in, I'm at the highest point in that place, being at that site that I'll get. And he made a recommendation for me to consider switching departments, where I can go beyond where I am at. Now, that's the favor of Yahuah. That's the favor of Yahuah. You see? But the amazing thing is, that's Yahuah. I see Yahuah favoring me in spite of the fact that I have people on a daily basis fighting against me. Literally fighting against me. They can't stand me. You see? And that's only because of the favor of Yahuah that's on my life. I don't go to work being anything other than who I am. I just go to work. I know I have a job to do, and I do it. And I do it because I do it as if I want to make Yahuah proud. Not because I want to make man proud, but I want to represent my daddy well. You see. I do my job, and in functioning in my job, I function with integrity, which is I function above reproach. So if anybody's going to accuse me of anything, if they accuse me of being lazy, it's not because I'm lazy. It's because of their jealousy. If they accuse me of stealing, it's not because I'm stealing. It's because of their insecurity. Whatever they accuse me of, it ain't going to be true, because I'm working to represent the kingdom of Yahuah. You see? And when I go to work, because I work in an environment where blacks are a minority in that company and at that facility, when I go to work, I work to represent black people. I don't just go to work thinking about myself. But because the image of black people is such that we are lazy, that we don't want to work, that we're this and that we're that, and when I go to work and I work with my white peers, I work in a way because I want to communicate to them. When they see me, I want them to think of other black people. That, you see, the things that you've been hearing about black people ain't true. That all we do is we want to sit around and collect welfare. That we're lazy and that we're this and that we're that. So when I go to work not just to represent myself. I go to work first and foremost to represent Yahuah. But I also go to work to represent my people, you see. And in representing my people and in representing Yahuah, I believe that it's important that I carry myself circumspectly and that I operate above reproach. That whatever I do it with integrity, you see. Now, when you do that, you know what that is? That's Torah living. Basically, that's Torah living. That's what it is. That's Torah living. And when you live according to the standard of Yahuah, number one, Yahuah will elevate you. And number two, no matter what those who fight against you do, when you are walking in line with Yahuah and His word, no matter what they do, they can't bring you down. You see? We get in trouble when we go against His word, not when we walk in accordance with His word. Study the scriptures. That's what we find. We get in trouble when we go against His word, not when we walk in accordance with His word. You see, because He says that when a man's ways please Yahuah, He will cause even his enemies to be at peace with him. And it doesn't mean that the enemy will not be tormented. The enemy will want to smack you, but yet he can't. You see? Because your way pleased Yahuah. So he'll be tormented, but yet he will be forced to live at peace with you. When he want to kill you, he can't. Because Yahuah commands him to submit. You see? So I just want to say that to give praise, honor, and esteem to Yahuah, and to encourage somebody out there, but to give Yahuah the esteem that he deserves. Okay. Now, let's. I know there's a question on YouTube. Let me go to that very quickly. Yes, indeed. And so and to be honest, so like Keith Franklin says, not all or majority of us are lazy, contrary to popular beliefs. That's right. You see, but unfortunately, we live in a system, and even in a country where almost half of the listen, please hear me what I'm saying. Please hear me what I'm saying. If somebody is white or Caucasian, whatever. I hate to use the term, but if somebody's white listening, I hate to use the term white listening, because when I use the term white, I think about it from a historical perspective, the reason why it was invented. And the term white was invented to promote white supremacy. So I feel bad when I say it, because I don't want anybody to misunderstand me. So when I say white, sometimes I'm saying it for people who have that
superiority.
I can't say it. Thank you. Complex. Okay.
Well, inferiority.
No, superiority complex. Yes, right. Or black inferiority, right. So when I say white, speaking of white people, for me, I'm speaking about those people with that superiority complex, or on the other flip side, which is black inferiority complex. Okay, that's when I say white, and when I think of white, that's what I think about, because that's why that's why the word was invented. Okay, it was invented by people who call themselves white because they wanted to lift themselves up. And so when I say it, sometimes, because I know how I look at it from the historical perspective that it was designed, I don't want to make sure when I say white, somebody white, I don't want to offend. You see what I'm saying? I don't want to offend the person of light complexion who don't have that complex. You see, who is not driven by that kind of hatred. So I'm careful in using these words, even though I can't be careful enough, because sometimes no matter how you say what, people are going to be offended and misunderstand, especially when they don't want to understand. But the reality is, here's the fact of the matter. Here is the fact of the matter. In America today, a nation with over 300 million people, I don't remember what number of that are quote unquote white people or Caucasians. I don't know what exact number of that 300 million is Caucasian. But the reality is that among Caucasians in America, almost 50%, almost 50% of Caucasians in America. I didn't say 50%, and I didn't say 100%. I didn't say 60%. I say almost 50% of Caucasians in America alive today still believe in promoting white supremacy. Still believe in the whole in that system of white supremacy. What I'm saying is almost 50% of Caucasians in America in 2016 is still no different than many Caucasians who lived in America in the 1800s and the 1600s. You see? How do I come to that? Well, it's really simple. If you look at the number that follows Donald Trump
Okay, that's what I thought.
and agrees with the racist things that Donald Trump promote, then you realize you get the figures real quickly. Okay? So the fact of the matter is that it's not the majority of Caucasians in America who express this great racial hatred kind of philosophy and live by it. But the reality is that even in 2016, there is still a great portion, okay, in America that does. You see. And I work with people like that. I work with people who love Donald Trump and who believe in the ideals and so on. And those people, for example, I walked into work yesterday morning and the morning before. I'm a supervisor of one such. And I walked in and he had his, there's a reason why I'm saying this. He had a forklift. He has his forklift. He left his stuff on his forklift. He has a notepad that he uses, a clipboard. He has a marker. He has a tape gun and several tools that he used. And he left it on his forklift. Now somebody overnight went and used the forklift, which it's perfectly fine. We share forklifts. Somebody went and used this forklift and in using it took the stuff off and sat it on another forklift right next to his forklift. He came in the next morning, looked on his forklift, didn't see the stuff on his forklift, didn't bother to look right next to his forklift on the forklift over, which is what I would have done. Didn't bother to look on that forklift right next to his to see if somebody sat the stuff on that forklift. No, what did he do? The first thing he did was he marched his way to me. He found me. And he said, in just a mean, condescending voice, he said, he told me somebody took the stuff off his forklift and I want.
Get out the hallway now.
So he told me somebody took his stuff off his forklift and he said, I want it replaced. I want all of it replaced. That's what he's telling me. I want it all replaced. No, he's telling me that I must now replace the stuff that somebody took off his forklift. So what I did was I walked over to his forklift and I looked down the forklift right next to his forklift. And the stuff was sitting on the seat of the forklift right next to his forklift. So by then he stumped his way off and I went to the office. When he came in the office, I said, did you find your stuff? He said, yeah. I found it on the ground behind this other person's forklift, on the floor behind this other person's forklift. So as he's saying this, I said, oh, that's funny, because in less than a minute ago, I actually saw it sitting on the seat of that forklift. He said, oh, yeah, I meant on the seat. So for the rest of the day, because he was caught in a lie and I let him know that he was caught in a lie, he spent the rest of the day trying to, I don't know how to put it, make it look like, try to kiss up, I guess, or whatever. No, he didn't dodge me. He couldn't dodge me. He couldn't avoid it. If he could, he would. But he can't. He just can't. Yeah, trying to redeem himself. The day before that.
What's the question?
Yeah, wait. I'm coming. No, the point that I'm making is, and I'm not going to go into too much details, but the point that I'm making is that, so the fact that this is something that, the point I'm making is that even when you have people who are fighting you down, I mean, this is just family, I'm just giving you the tip of the iceberg. I'm not talking about the stuff they whisper behind my back and the lies that they tell on me behind my back. But in spite of their actions and in spite of their attempts, Yahuah still elevate me and elevate me above them. You see? And so my point is that if we will seek Yahuah first and seek to honor him, then it doesn't matter what the enemy does. Yahuah will always raise you above your enemies. You see? He will always raise you above your enemies. You see what I'm saying? And you don't have to live your life simply because they're bitter at you. You don't have to live your life bitter at them. But you tell the truth when it's necessary to tell the truth. But you don't have to live your life bitter at them. You see? Because that's only going to hold you back. Because then you're going to become bitter like them. You see? But I refuse to be bitter like them. You see? But what I am going to do, I'm going to live in integrity. Okay? So I just want to give Yahuah praise, honor, and esteem for his favor and for his barakah, you see. And that he continue to show me that it is he who fights on our behalf, you see. And so to Yahuah be all esteem. Let me go to and so Aki Franklin, I just pray that Yahuah would just favor you in this new job, and that his barakah would be upon you, and that he would elevate you, you see. Now there's a question. Let me just say this real quick, and then I'll see if there are any other comments or questions from the family in the room today. But there's a question from one of our Aki on YouTube, Aki Ubadyahu, had asked the question. He asked the question this past week, and I tried to respond on YouTube, but I think my response was so lengthy that it would not allow me to post it to YouTube. So I'd asked Aki if he would, yes indeed, that's one of my favorite texts there, praise Yahuah. Tahalim 75 verse 6, Psalm 75 and verse 6, for promotion comes neither from the east nor from the west nor from the south, but Elohim is the judge. He puts down one and sets up another, you see. And there's another text that basically says the same thing. My promotion comes neither from the east nor from the west, but from above, you see. So Aki had asked this question. Aki Ubadyahu had asked the question about the lottery. Is it wrong to play the lottery? And so I want to take some time to respond to that question now, family. And then I'm gonna, if there are any other comments or questions in the room, I'll come to that. Okay. So let me begin by saying this concerning the lottery. So first place we begin is the fact that even though many people tend to speak as if there is a Torah against playing the lottery, and I always like to begin, when confronted with questions, I like to begin with Torah. And what Torah is the instructions of Yahuah. Torah is not limited to the first 5 books as religion has taught us, but Torah is all Yahuah's instruction. Okay, so there is not any one specific not one specific Torah about playing the lottery or about gambling in the scriptures. However, we do have principles in the scriptures that can be a guide to us in this area. Okay? So Yahuah tells us not to covet, right? That we are not to covet. So not to envy, not to covet, not to envy, and not to be jealous over what belongs to your neighbor, right? Not to covet, not to envy, and not to be jealous over what belongs to your neighbor. This is just the beginning, and you'll see why I was trying to type all this, but it wouldn't. I guess it was too much. It wouldn't let me post it. So he tells us not to covet, not to envy, not to be jealous over what belongs to our neighbor. And he also warns us about wealth that is hastily gained, right? Is that right so far, family? Is that right so far that Yahuah talks about not coveting, not being envious, and not being jealous, and he warned us against wealth that is hastily gained, right? Okay. So so Yahuah warns us about those things. Yes. Okay. So Keith, I'm gonna come to that point as we go on. Now, okay. So because there is no specific Torah against gambling per se. Okay? But Yahuah warned us not to covet, not to envy, not to be jealous, and he warned us about wealth hastily gained, right? What's casting lots? That's something different. That's with the Urim and the Thummim, the stones that the priest would wear under their breastplate, which they used to know what the will of Yahuah was before we had the Ruach living in us, dwelling in us. Okay? So, my wife was asking me, what's casting lots? Casting lots is something different than gambling. But let me let me come back to this now. No, that's the way they use it. That's the way they use it today about casting lots. But scripturally, casting lots is something different. Okay. Now, okay.
It was like shooting dice.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Right? This is what my advice would be to individuals who play the lottery. Now, do I think it's impossible for Yahuah to favor somebody by maybe even a dream, say maybe reveal numbers to you in a dream, and this person plays the lottery and win it? Do I think that's impossible? I don't think it's impossible. I'll tell you why, and I'll say this, and listen to me carefully, because we see in the scriptures where Yahuah says that the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the just, right? Okay. Now, so it comes back to motive, right? Comes back to motive, I believe. It comes back to motive. Why are you playing the lottery? Why do you desire to play the lottery? Right? Why are you playing the lottery? Why do you desire to play the lottery? Is it because you just want a big house like everybody else? You want an expensive car like everybody else? You want to, you want this or you want that like everybody else? Yes. Is it the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life that have you running after the lottery? Right? Which is it? Okay? Now, yeah. So, yes. So is it? Yes. Is your pursuit? Because you see, now Aki Franklin just posted from Proverbs. This is one of the principles, for example, that I speak about. Wealth from vanity diminishes, but he who gathers by hand increases. And what that's talking about, it's talking about slowly gathering wealth. Okay? Slowly gathering wealth. That's what it's talking about. Wealth from vanity diminishes. So vanity isn't limited to, say, the lottery. Vanity is basically anything that you do out of vain ambition. Okay? Anything that you pursue out of vain ambition. There is no true purpose, right? There is no there is really no reason, you see, but you're pursuing it vainly out of greed and so on, right? Now, so if what you're driven by is envy, greed, that's another word, right? Jealousy, so on and so forth, then it's of no value. Here's another thing about the lottery. Here's another thing. I'm not done yet, family, so bear with me, because a lot of times people ask these questions, but I like to answer these questions. You see, the scriptures tells us in the book of Proverbs, it tells us that there are two sides to every story. And I don't like to just give you one side. I like to give you both sides and then allow you to decide. I don't want to decide for you. Okay? Now, for example, there is a proverb that says, that a bird in the hand is worth two in the bushes, right? A bird in the hand is worth two in the bushes, right? Now, with the lottery, the state runs the lottery and any casino. So the state is acting as a casino. And casinos go into business to make money, right? They don't go into business to lose money. And so when it comes to the lottery, they're going to business for profit. And they're in the business for profit. So if there were the losers, they wouldn't be in the business. So the lottery comes down, it becomes, I don't know. It becomes a moral question. Is that coming from upstairs?
Maybe next door.
Yeah. It becomes a moral question. Okay? And what you're examining is you're examining motive. Okay? So the state, the banker is always the winner. Okay? So when it comes to the lottery, the state is always the winner. Okay? They're not the losers. Because if they were losing, they wouldn't be facilitating the lottery. Okay? So they're always the winner. Now, I believe the lottery is not a wise investment. I don't believe it to be, if you look at it as an investment, I don't believe it to be a wise investment. Because the majority of people who play the lottery don't win, never wins. And even for those who do win, unless they happen to be the one in billions that end up winning a multi-million-dollar jackpot, then the majority of people who do play the lottery end up to be losers. Not only that, family, not only that, many lives are destroyed because as a result of gambling, as a result of the lottery. You have people who are seriously affected by it, you see, and yes, and it leads to a lot of other issues, you see. So is it, I will say that if we go by the principles that Yahuah lay out for us, it is not the best pursuit. Again, I'm not saying that Yahuah couldn't use it if he so chooses to be a barakah to his people. I'm not saying that's impossible. It's certainly not impossible. But for us to take up a habit of playing the lottery, I don't think it's wise, and I don't think it's good, because you're going to end up losing more than you'll ever gain from it, unless you're the one in trillions who hit a jackpot, and the majority of people sadly don't, and the majority of people who do finally hit a multi-million-dollar jackpot, studies show that in a matter of a short time they are broke Why? Because Yahuah tell us that would be the case in his word. He talk about wealth that is hastily gained. Going back to Proverbs chapter 20 and verse 21. An inheritance obtained with greed at the beginning is not Baruch at the end. Now, is that to say that everybody who plays the lottery is playing it because they're greedy? No. Because I don't believe everybody who played the lottery play it because they're greedy. Some people are just in a place of desperation where they feel they have no other choice. They have nothing else. And so they're reaching out for a straw. A drowning man will clutch onto a straw, as another proverb say. So not everybody who plays the lottery is playing out of greed. They're playing out of desperation, you see, because they feel they're drowning, you see. Also, Proverbs chapter 13, verse 11, wealth from vanity diminishes, but he who gathers by the hand increases. You see? In the book of Mashali, Proverbs, it also tell us to go to the ant and watch how the ants work, how he slowly gathers his food. He spend all summer gathering his food, stockpiling for the winter, you see. And so, okay, what about investing in stocks? So, okay, so to sum up my response on the lottery, I don't think that it's wise. Because the majority of people who play lose more than they gain, lose far more than they gain. And if it was about the people, the state wouldn't be involved in it. It's about the banker, you see. If they weren't winning, then they wouldn't be promoting it. But they always win. And the people always lose, you see. So ultimately, yes, it's a heart issue, motive. And, and I believe it's wise to consider the principles that Yahuah lay out in his word concerning gaining wealth. Okay? Yeah, so stocks. Some people say that you shouldn't invest in stocks. But I believe that some people just write off stocks automatically. But I believe that it's a part of that comes out of not understanding the way stocks work also. Now we unfortunately we live in a corrupt society. But in the stock market, stocks is this. Okay? You can invest in stocks without investing in Wall Street. If we were a nation, if we were a nation of people functioning as a nation, we would have our own stock market. Every society has always had a stock market because that's the way the economy works. Okay? Now what Wall Street did was Wall Street took it and put it on steroids. And now they have all kinds of stuff. You have futures, you have I can't even remember all the different ways of so-called investing that they have out there. And some of it is really no investing at all. You see? It's really gambling, some of it. You see? It's literally gambling. You're betting about which business or which stock is gonna do good and which one is gonna do bad. You're not even investing in anything. You're just betting on companies or against companies. You see? And they have names for this stuff. Okay? There are all kinds. There are a whole lot of ways that they have invented to make money off of people's money. Okay? But the principle or the idea of stocks in itself is not an evil thing, because stocks is basically you buying shares in a company. Okay? You buying shares in a company would be like you coming to if Akut Sharon is trying to start a business, and she comes to us and she say, I have this idea to start this business, but I don't have enough principal. I don't have enough money to get the business started. Could you would you be willing to lend me some money to get the business started or to expand the business? And we're going to make an agreement that I'm going to give you this much in interest on the money you lend me, and as it grows, I will increase the amount of interest that I give to you. That's basically the same idea. Now, Yasharal were not to charge Yasharal interest, but Yahuah told Yasharal to charge strangers interest. So Yasharal was allowed to lend money to strangers and to charge them at interest, whereas Yasharal were not to charge Yasharal interest. So the stock market in itself, if you're dealing with simple stocks, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but you also need to know what you're getting into in as much as possible. And we live in a system that is so corrupt that I wouldn't advise anybody right now to even get into stocks because of the volatility and corruption. So from that perspective, I wouldn't advise anybody to get into stocks. You see, the problem with us as a people is that we don't have enough to start something meaningful, and mutual funds are more secure. Yeah, now they pay far less in interest and dividends, but they're more secure, but at least you're getting some kind of return on your money instead of just putting it in the bank. Oh, by the way, watch this. Anybody who has a bank account, you are actually involved in the stock market, whether you realize it or not. Anybody who has money in the bank, if you have $100 in the bank, you are involved in the stock market, whether you realize it or not. Because that $100 that you have in the bank is being lent to people, and you're not getting anything from it. That's the only difference. Any money that you put in the bank, they lend it to people. They do overnight loans. That money sits in your bank account for one day. They done lend it to several people and made interest off of it, and then only give you back your $100. You see? That's what banks do. If you have more money, the more money you have, the more they lend it, the more they make. And then the more you have, they might give you a few pennies on it. You see? But the fact of the matter is, anybody who has a bank account is involved in the stock market. So when people talk about the stock market and they say it's gambling, it's a lot of times it's because they don't. It's because they don't understand how the stock market works. But I'll say to you that the stock market today is a corrupt system. Okay, quite corrupt. And I wouldn't encourage anybody, whatever little money you have, I wouldn't encourage you to put in the stock market. Now, if you work at a place where they offer some kind of benefit package, where they say they match or provide some benefit for you, retirement account through the stock market, there are people who tell you, no, don't take it, don't be involved in that. Yeah, like a 401k. They'll tell you, don't take it. That's of Shaitan. You see, that's of Shaitan. They'll tell you, listen, family. I think that's it's if somebody's giving you free money, you take it. Okay. If they're giving it to you, you take it, because in reality, it's not free. Let me say that again. In reality, it's not free. Because when you're working for an employer and they have a retirement fund that they're putting into, you might not realize it, but you are paying into that fund because it's not coming out of your employer's pocket. It's coming off of your back. It's coming off from your sweat, you see. Because whatever money, whatever comes in, whatever profit comes in is as a result of your labor. Not because the employer is taking money from somewhere else, putting in this and so it's free money. It's not free money. It's because of your work. It's because of your labor. You see, so to deny it, to reject it, it's really it shows that you don't understand the way their system works. All right, now let me go back. There are a few comments here. Our postings from the scriptures. Aki Franklin posted from Dabarim, Deuteronomy chapter 15 and verse 1. At the end of every 7 years, you make a release of debt. And this system, they stole that idea from the scriptures, where after 7 years, if something has been on your credit report for 7 years, you have the right to ask them to remove it. Okay? 15 verse 2, and this is the word of the release. Every creditor is to release what he has loaned to his neighbor. He does not require it of his neighbor. Oops, I gotta go back up. Does not require it of his neighbor or his brother, because it is called the release of Yahuah. Dabarim 15 and 3. Of a foreigner you could require it, but your hand is to release whatever is owed by your brother. So Dabarim 15 and 4. Only there should be no poor among you, for Yahuah does greatly baruch you in the land which Yahuah your Alakim is giving you. Bear with me. When you post, if you just hang on, hold off on posting till I'm finished reading this, please, family. When you do it, it messes me up. Only if you diligent. Oh, where am I at? Bear with me just for a second. Only there should be no poor among you, for Yahuah does greatly baruch you in the land which Yahuah your Alakim is giving you to possess as an inheritance. Dabarim 15:5. Only if you diligently obey the voice of Yahuah your Alakim to guard all these commands which I am commanding you today. Kud Sharon had posted, in their slavery schemes and crimes against humanity mindset, the world is robbed of its common knowledge of the mysteries of our heavenly Abba. The firmament is a deep study that makes them look really insignificant. Okay, I think that was on a different subject. Besides student loans, okay, only Yahuah can release that debt.
You ain't never lied.
Yes, indeed.
You ain't never lied.
Yes, indeed, Aki.
And that's only death by deliverance.
Yeah, no,
Deliverance
yeah.
by death.
Yeah, not even death. Yes, indeed. Okay, all right. So yeah, so that's my response to both of those questions, family, and Aki Franklin Tuda for posting for having those scriptures on hand. Proverbs 23:4. I'm reading from YouTube. Praise Yahuah wrote, "Labor not to be rich. Cease from your own wisdom. Will you set your eyes upon that which is not? For riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away as an eagle toward Shamayim." Now, let me put that in perspective and in context, because there are some who use scriptures like that and make it seem as if there is no place for wealth among the people of Yahuah. And that's actually not true. It's incorrect. It's actually false. And so really what is being stated here, it's not that wealth is bad and that we shouldn't gain wealth. But what is being stated is that your perspective, wealth have to have its right perspective. Your perspective, your motive in gaining wealth have got to be right. You see? What, you know, some people say that they say the Bible say money is the root of all evil. Well, the scriptures doesn't say money is the root of all evil. It says the love of money is the root of all evil, right? The scriptures actually says that money answers all things. Now, and money doesn't answer all things, so we got to put it in the right perspective. But speaking from an earthly perspective, money answers all things. In other words, everything that you need to get done, you need money. That's always been the case. Through every generation, that's always been the case. You see? But gaining wealth, there is nothing wrong with gaining wealth. Yahuah says it is I that give you the power to get wealth. That's in Deuteronomy chapter 8, if I recall correctly. It is I that give you the power to get wealth, you see. But what is your motive? What motivates you in getting wealth? And what place do you put wealth in your life? You see, do you put wealth above Yahuah? Do you put wealth above his people? You see, what place does wealth hold in your life? You see, or even the desire for wealth. Why do you desire to be wealthy? What's your motive? What motivates you? You see, so it goes back to motive. So there is nothing wrong with gaining wealth. You see, Yasharal, when we study the scriptures, we find that Yasharal was a wealthy nation, and that Yahuah intended for Yasharal to be wealthy. I just read some scriptures that spoke about that. I don't remember what I was reading. I don't know if I shared it in the room, but today when we go to the book of Mashali, you're going to see that in Mashali chapter 11, in Proverbs chapter 11, it speaks about that also. Yahuah intend for his people to be wealthy. As a matter of fact, if you read in Deuteronomy chapter 28, what does Yahuah say? Yahuah says that if you will be obedient, then you will lend and not borrow. You will be the head and not the tail. You will be above and not beneath. Yahuah intend. He says that all the nations will look upon you and they will call you Baruch in every way. You see? You will lend and not borrow. You will be a wealthy people. You see? If you would walk in obedience. So Yahuah intend, I've always intended for Yasharal to be a wealthy nation. To be, and I want to separate wealth from prosper even. Because I don't want people to get, when I talk about prospering, to limit it just to wealth. Because when Yahuah talk about us prospering, it's not just in having wealth in the sense of money, but prospering in every way, where your children are not you not giving you high blood pressure, and your health is not you're not suffering as a result of your health and all of this stuff. You see, so but Yahuah intended only good for his people. That have always been the intent of Yahuah. Listen, Shalomah, that's who they call Solomon. Solomon was very wealthy, the scriptures tells us. How did he get wealthy? Did he ask Yahuah for riches? No, he didn't ask Yahuah for riches. And Yahuah didn't give him riches, like just throw money at him, so to speak. He asked Yahuah for wisdom. And guess what? Wisdom gave him the know-how to gain wealth. You see? Wisdom gave him the know-how to gain wealth. So, a lot of these verses sometimes are mishandled and mistreated and misrepresented when it comes to these things, but we have to put them in their right perspective. All right. Okay, so let me open up the mic here. I've been talking a lot. Let me open up the mic. Anyone have anything else that you would like to add to that conversation, or if you have a testimony that you would like to share, Mashpaka, before we dive into our lesson here today? Yes, absolutely. Shalomah used to trade goods with other nations. Absolutely. And it was not forbidden against doing so. Yasharal have always traded with other nations, and Yahuah is not against that. You see, Yahuah gave certain rules when it comes to dealing with outsiders, and there's a different set of rules when it comes to dealing with people of your own nation. But Yahuah encouraged trade with outside nations. That's why Yahuah says, Yahuah tell us even concerning business, he said that look at the wicked. You can learn a lot from them about business. You see, but you don't do everything that they do. But you can take the things that are good, non-oppressive, and whatever, and you can learn a lot from them. Okay, I see your flag, Aki Dela Yahu. Please go ahead, Aki.
Tudaki. I just have a quick question. I want to run past you
Yes,
today.
Aki.
First of all, I say Shabbat Shalom to all my Mastercard. I hope that everyone having a Barak week, and Yahuah continues to Barak every one of us, and His accordance to His will.
Praise you.
Aki, I was like, it was a Facebook post I interjected on earlier this week, where someone was basically comparing, trying to exploit King David and Jonathan's relationship, and cited like a couple different verses out of different books in the Bible, trying to say that they had like a
Yeah.
homosexual affair or whatever. And
Yes.
I read these scriptures, and it is kind of misconstrued a little bit how it's placed. Like on one of them it says that he loved him more than he loved women and things like that. And I had to elaborate that, it's based upon a different context of David being hunted down by Saul and Jonathan protecting him. And I wanted to make sure that I did understand all that right. And I'm mainly asking for a little bit of ammunition to go back and reaffirm my clarification of those verses, because he cited like about 4 or 5 different verses saying some kind of they were, if you just read them, they did seem kind of iffy. And I was wondering insight on that if you have any, Aki, and I released the mic.
Praise Yahuah, and Tuda Aki for bringing that up, because there are two people who does that with those verses, and the only way that it can sound to be something is when we extract it from the context. So there are two people who does that with verses such as that. You have the homosexuals who are trying to justify their nasty behavior, and then you have the so-called atheists who are trying to disqualify the scriptures. But for the homosexual who is trying to justify his nasty behavior, while at the same time trying to hold up the scriptures, say, that I believe in the Creator, and I believe the Creator loves me and wants me to be happy and live the way that I want to live. For the homosexual who says that, and then who goes and twists those verses, he contradicts himself, and he contradicts the scriptures, because there is much that Yahuah has to say about homosexuality. The scriptures have a lot to say about the homosexual and homosexuality. The homosexual, when caught should be put to death according to the scriptures. It was not tolerated in the nation. Homosexuality was not tolerated in the nation. So how could it be? Yeah, neither bestiality or none of these things. So how could it be that so how could it be that the same one, Yahuah, who says that the homosexual must be put to death, how is he now going to promote homosexuality by suggesting that Netanyahu and Dahoud, that they had some kind of homosexual relationship going on, and even you even use other passages, as Aki just mentioned, even from the so-called new writings, Yeah, Yahunathan, to that, Aki. Even from the new writings. But even in the new writings, it tells you no homosexual will have a part in the kingdom of Yahuwah. You see, so it's just a contradiction. But again, so you're absolutely
Got rid of a whole city.
yeah, yeah. So it's just a contradiction, and they do that. If you read the verses by themselves, it can sound that way. But if you read them in context, then the context explains exactly what is being stated. But they don't keep them in context. They want to lift them out, put them by themselves, and say, read this. If you read it by itself, it can sound that way, but in context, it doesn't sound that way. Doesn't look that way, doesn't smell that way, does nothing that way. You see, it goes totally contrary to what they're trying to make it say. So you're absolutely correct, Aki. And that's something that they've always done and continue to do. But there's just no justification. And the only way they can try to justify it is by taking scriptures out of context, taking the text out of context. You see.
Leave it up to them. They'll say that's why his dad was chasing down.
Yeah, so that's it. Aki Willie, go ahead, Aki.
Shabbat Shalom, Mashmakala. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Aki. Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah. Well, this may seem like a pretty simple answer to come out when I ask the question, but we don't have no dealings with I guess say zodiac signs, do we?
No, not at all.
Okay. The only reason I'm asking because I see a lot of people, even including in Yasharal, we always find ourselves even myself back then used to go back and look at our zodiac sign and try to base that out of how we gonna go throughout our day and stuff like that. And some people even will go and base it off of their friendship and also relationships. Like, oh, well, I know we're not gonna get along because you're a Scorpio or Aries or some crazy mess. And how it's just like, well, it doesn't make any sense. Cause no, I just say that I don't have no dealings with it at all. But
Yes.
I just wanted to ask that because it's just like, well, it seems like we're so attached to a lot of other stuff. I'm not sure what the origins of zodiac signs are and stuff like that, or because I didn't research it. But I just wanted to ask that because I wasn't really sure on the dealings of that because hey, I was very unclear and it was just on my mind for this week. So Shabbat Shalom family, and I'm gonna release the mic.
Okay, yes, indeed, Aki. Yes, so no, we don't deal with the zodiac sign. It's divination, is what the scriptures call it. Now, there is a difference between what's the technical names for them here. The study. There's a difference between astrology and astronomy. Okay, there's a difference between astrology and astronomy. Okay, now, did Yasharal study astronomy? Yes. When walking in obedience, did Yasharal participate in astrology? No. Okay, so astrology is divination. Okay, it's a form of divination. Astronomy is a study of the stars, which ultimately is a study of the seasons or the calendar. Okay, so the way that Yahuwah's calendar is very much tied to the stars in Shamayim, is very much tied to the heavens. Okay, so his calendar is very much tied to the stars, the signs in the heavens. And when you study the stars, that's astronomy. Astrology is where they create mighty ones, use the stars to form mighty ones. In their imaginations, they create mighty ones, name these mighty ones of bodies of stars, and then worship those mighty ones, you see. Okay, let's go to Aki. Keith, go ahead, Aki.
Shabbat Shalom, Keith.
Shabbat shalom to you, Aki.
That was a great testimony,
Praise
and I
Yahuah.
know exactly what you're saying. But just a quick question: what does betrothal actually means?
Yes, great question, Aki. Great question. So the custom in Yasharal, and if we had some time, I'd go to some scriptures to give an example. The book of Song of Songs or Song of Shalomah is a great example of understanding betrothal, because betrothal is really a picture of Yahuah and his plan of redemption for his people. That's what betrothal is really about. So marriage is about us dwelling, Yahuah dwelling with his people, Yahuah making his abode with his people. Yahu was the Yahu Amanual, right? Marriage is a fulfillment of that. Yahu being our Amanual, Alachim dwelling with us, a fulfillment of the Feast of Booths, Feast of Tabernacles. That's what marriage is really about. It's a picture of all of that. Now the betrothal speaks of that waiting period. It's that period where we work on getting ourselves right, getting ourselves together, awaiting the coming of the bridegroom, awaiting our deliverance, awaiting that final and complete union. And so, Yahuah teaches us his lessons. It's like us having a child, and we're trying to teach them. We're trying to teach them, whatever it is that we're trying to teach them, and we try to find ways in everything that they do to communicate. We make up little songs so they can learn their ABCs, right? We make up little songs so they can learn math. Certain math rules and so on and so forth. In the same way, that's what Yahuah does to us. So he gives us these things like marriage and the different things that we do to communicate his plan for us and his intention for us. And marriage is one of those things. So the period of betrothal is where the man takes a woman. By the way, if we were a functioning nation, there would be no marriage that's not arranged through family, you see. And so if we were truly a functioning nation, every marriage would be arranged. And so when marriages are arranged, if they're done right, if they're being arranged correctly, then you would have more accountability, you would have less abuse, you would have more stability, you would have longer marriages, just a whole lot would be different. So it begins with an arrangement, the marriage being arranged. Then the man takes that woman and he make a commitment to that woman, and they make a commitment to each other. But before the marriage is sealed, so the betrothal period is the beginning of the marriage. But the marriage is not completed until it has been sealed. So now you have a year to get to know one another and to prepare yourselves for each other. And in that year, it's not like, okay, I get to know you, so now I'm going to test drive the car, and this is a year to test drive and see if I want to. So you don't. There is no. What I'm saying is there is no intimacy during that period. It's you working together to come together, because what you have is two people coming together as one, and it's a process. And so within that year, if we're following the process, things are going to be revealed. And if we're going into it with understanding fully what marriage is, that marriage is for the preservation of a nation, and that it conveys the love of Yahuah for his people. If we go into it understanding fully what marriage is, then we're going to go into it being fully aware and awakened and open-minded. And so if we see something during the process of that year in another individual that seem problematic, then that is the time where you have that opportunity to say, you know what, I don't want to continue with this. And so if we follow that process, then even divorce, which Yahuah hates, is eliminated through that process. Yahuah hates divorce. And even though he made a way for divorce, he don't intend for Yasharal to be engaged in divorce, because he hates divorce. So the betrothal process helps to eliminate that, you see, if we go by the process. So during that time, if a man show himself to be something else than you think that he is, or a woman shows herself to be something else that you think that she is, then that is the time for you to call it off, you see. But after you have gone through that year of betrothal, then comes the marriage feast, and the sealing of the marriage. And the marriage is not sealed. It's not a ring that sealed the marriage. There is no ring in Yasharal. Yasharal didn't use wedding rings. What seals the marriage is intimacy. You see, that's what seals the marriage. And so after that year and after the ceremony, that's where the marriage is sealed. When we read in the book of Song of Shalomah, it's really a beautiful depiction of marriage. You see, when you see the bridegroom coming in the middle of the night, he's coming for his spouse, and he has his brothers with him, the men. They come with their torches lit, so on and so forth. It's just a beautiful portrayal of what marriage represents. You see, it talks about having their swords on their mounted on their thighs and so on. But it's a beautiful portrayal of marriage. So in essence, that's what betrothal is. I hope I answered clear enough, Aki. But
you did.
Okay.
You did. Can I say one thing? One more thing.
Yes, indeed.
What happens if you and an individual already became intimate?
What happens is it can corrupt things. But if it happened, then it's important that we seek forgiveness and make a decision to live in a way that you don't compromise, put yourself in a position where it's going to happen again. Because the more it happens, the more likely problems are going to develop later on in the marriage, because it clouds your judgment. Intimacy clouds your judgment, you see. So there might be issues, but now you're not thinking straight, because your mind is really somewhere else. And so there might be things that needs to be addressed, things that should be observed before you actually fully go into this marriage. But because you broke the order, you see, because you went out of line, now your judgment is clouded, and you're not seeing clearly. You're not hearing clearly. And the only time you're going to begin to see and hear clearly is now once you are officially married, and all of a sudden you're seeing problems that you think just sprung up when they've been there the whole time. Your eyes were somewhere else and your heart was somewhere else, and so you couldn't see the problems. You were steady seeing something else, so it's going to manifest later. And so that's why Yahuah cautioned us to keep ourselves separated in that way until the appointed time.
Die, Keith. Thank you.
Praise Father Aki. Okay, question. So Yasharal have sex does not make it betrothal? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. There are people out there who teach that, but no, it doesn't. You know what? To be honest, what the scriptures call that, it actually calls it whoring. That's what it calls that, but it doesn't. So sex in itself does not define marriage. Sex outside of full commitment in marriage is whoring according to the scriptures, like being made to stay with a mate because of coming into her. No. So that's something that Christianity really came up with that and pushed that. But even with Yahuah, that wasn't what was supposed to be. As a matter of fact, quite frankly, what Yahuah says about that, if we were to go back to that way of Torah, if the people involved were found out, you know what was to happen, right? So it wasn't okay, now you gotta, now the community come together and say, now you gotta go marry her because you did this. No, you say, no, we're gonna get the two of you and we're gonna stone you. That's harsh, ain't it? But the intent was to discourage that from happening. So Christianity came up with that thing where they push. Once that happens, they push for you to stay together. But that's not the way of Yahuah. That's not the rules that Yahuah laid down. Let's see. I believe Aki Franklin might have posted some scriptures. Yep, Dabarim 22:23. When a girl who is a maiden is engaged to a husband, and a man finds her in the city and lies with her. Dabarim 22:24. Then you shall bring them both out of the gate of that city, and shall stone them to death with stones. The girl, because she did not cry out in the city, and the man, because he has humbled his neighbor's wife. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst. Now this is a case where you have somebody messing with somebody that's not even, he's not even betrothed to her, or is not his wife. But also similar instructions apply to people who are betrothed to be married, engaged to be married. And then you have situations of rape, open rape. And this is where somebody grab a woman against her will and, lay with her, rapes her, you see. Abarim 22:25. But if a man finds a girl who is engaged in the field, and the man seizes her and lies with her, then only the man who lay with her shall die. So a rapist must be put to death. But you shall... where am I at? It moved. Give me 1 second. But you shall do no matter to the girl. The girl has no sin, no transgression worthy of death. For the matter is like a man who raises against his neighbor and kills him. Right. So rape, like Donald Trump, a rapist, according to the scriptures, because you think about a person like that with the kind of power. You see, when you have that kind of money and power and you're wicked, you make people do what you want them to do. And in the mind of the wicked, that's not rape, but it's absolute rape, you see. And that one should be put to death. You see, a rapist should be put to death, you see. All right. So those are some of the scriptures that Aki Franklin just put some of those references up. So yeah. So the way that is seen is if the man and the woman does it before the marriage is finalized, that's an act worthy of both being put to death. And the reason why Yahuwah make those laws is to discourage that from happening, because he know the chaos that comes out of that. Imagine now you cloud your judgment by getting intimate too early, and you're not seeing that this person don't have the kind of personality where you and them are going to get along. But because you've become intimate, and now your judgment is clouded, and you're not thinking straight, and then now a little later on down the road you all have children, and then you want to decide, you know what, she was bad for me from to begin with. She was always a non-believer. She was always this and she was always that. So now, even though we have several kids together, I'm going to put her away. I'm going to put her and her children away. I'm going to go find me another wife. I'm going to find me another woman. What you have now is you have dysfunction in the nation. You have children who are distressed. You have all kind of financial problems that stem from that. And just a whole host of issues that's not good for the nation. And that's why Yahuwah gave his nation such laws. They might sound harsh, but if those are the laws that people are living by, then the likelihood of you seeing this stuff prevalent would be far less likely. And when it happens and it's addressed, it's a deterrent to anybody else trying to follow suit. Yes, it's not the laws of this nation. That's right. Not the laws of this nation. The laws of his nation. This is a corrupt nation. That's right, Aki. That's absolutely right. And some people try to enforce Yahuwah's law in a strange nation. It don't work. Yahuwah never gave his laws to a strange nation. You see? It was never intended for a strange nation. You see? Okay. All right. Once again, family, Tuda, for those very important comments and questions. And again, we give Yahuwah praise. Oh, there's a question on YouTube. Let me go to that very quickly. Tuda Akut, bear with me just for a second. Question on YouTube. Okay. I would like to know, this is from Akut, Mrs. Sooks. I'm sorry if I mispronounce your last name, Akut. I would like to know, is it our duty to judge others, or do we just leave it to the Father? Great, another great question, and Tuda for asking, Akut. Certainly, Christianity has brainwashed people into thinking that we should not judge anyone. Okay? Now, what I'll say is that we do not have a right to judge. We have a responsibility to judge. Okay? We do not have a right to judge. We have a responsibility to judge. But what the scriptures warn against is, it warns against hypocrites judging, hypocrites passing judgments. So hypocrites cannot judge. Hypocrites should not judge. You see, because the judgment of a hypocrite is canceled out by his own actions. You see, and so you can't be guilty and then trying to judge somebody on the very thing, on the things that you are just as guilty on. You see, so what the scriptures teaches us is that hypocrites should not judge. A judge must be above reproach. You see, a judge must be above reproach. So we have a responsibility to judge. You see, we have a responsibility to judge. And that's seen all throughout the scriptures. Now, we can go to the new writings, what they call the New Testament, and you have many examples of it. The Christians twist that, though. If you go to the new writings, for example, when Shaul was writing to the people in Colossae on the very subject matter, he says to them, "Know you not that you will have the responsibility of even judging the messengers. That's what the Christian could they change to angels. Okay, he said that you ought to judge among yourselves, but first of all, judge yourselves first. And if you would judge yourself, then there will be no need for anyone else to judge you. If you would examine yourself first, then you will find the flaw with yourself, you will repent and correct it, and there will be no need of others to judge you. But if there are any among you who are living contrary to the way of Yahuah, then you have a responsibility to judge them when you see that they're not examining themselves and making changes. You have that responsibility. Now, if they will hear you, and then the scriptures lay out a way to do this, right? So when you see somebody in a fault, you go to them privately. Okay? You go to them privately. Because ultimately what you're seeking to do is not to tear them down, you're seeking to build them up. And so you go to them privately. Now, if you go to them privately and they will not hear you, then you bring them before the assembly, not the church. You were not told to bring them to the church. You are to bring them before the assembly of Yahuah. The church and the assembly of Yahuah are two different things. You see? Bring them before the assembly. That's people in the assembly. Bring them to the assembly. Okay? Bring them before the nation. Okay? And if they still will not hear you, then you bring them. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Bring them. Okay, so you go to them privately. If they won't hear you, you take a witness. Take another brother with you. Take another sister with you. Try to talk to this one. Okay? Show them based on the contextual word of Yahuah why what they're doing is wrong. And if they still will not hear both of you, then you've got to take them before the entire nation, before the assembly. Okay? So we have a responsibility to judge. After all, we see over and over again, Yahusha said, by their fruits we will know them. How you gonna know if you don't judge the fruit? All right? And so, of course, Christianity teaches that thou shalt not judge. That's not according to scripture, though. So, Tada for asking that very important question, Akut. Okay. All right. Well, family, we're going to turn our attention. Okay, let me go to Akut Shar. This judging is between our brethren. That's right. That's right, Akut. Because, let me go back up. The heathen will be heathen. No need. Yep. Thank you, Akut, for bringing that up. Yep. So we are also instructed not to judge the wicked. We are instructed not to judge the wicked, not to judge the heathen. Okay? Not to judge the heathen, not to judge the wicked. Now, what does that mean? Does it mean that you don't talk about the wickedness of the wicked? Does it mean that you do not make your people aware that there's a snake in the grass? No, that's not what that means. You make your people aware of the snake, but you don't try to bring. It's not up to you to go and try to correct the wicked, because in you trying to do so, you might get bitten. You see. So the wicked is going to do wickedness. The wicked is going to do what he does. Judgment, the purpose of judgment have two roles. Or judgment comes in two stages, maybe I should say. For a lack of a better way of putting it, you see judge. But maybe not for a lack, but we have to understand too the difference between judgment and condemnation. Okay? We also have to understand the difference between judgment and condemnation. And when we use condemnation, for a lack of a better word, sometimes it can be misunderstood. So among our family, we do not condemn our family. we judge our family. What it means is we weigh their actions against what's right, and which is against the word of Yahuah. We weigh their actions and their word against the words of Yahuah. And when it does not weigh, when it doesn't level out in the balance, when it doesn't line up, we've got to point it out to them that what you're doing and what you're saying does not line up with Yahuwah's word. Now it is important for you, Aki or Akut. It is important for you to repent and really, to turn back to what the word says. Okay, that's judgment. Okay, in the process, it's not up to us to condemn them, but there can come a point where they are condemned, because when they refuse to repent, refuse to hear, that's where, and even your condemnation of them is limited. But that's where you have to say, okay, no, we can't allow you to continue to stay in here and infect and affect the entire assembly. So there can be no fellowship between us. That might become necessary. Okay? When it comes to the wicked, we speak about, warn our people about their wickedness, about their schemes. But, and understand me on this, because some people think that under no circumstances does Yasharal ever rise up against the wicked, or should ever rise up against the wicked. Some people think that, but that's not according to the scriptures. But that's in Yahuwah's time. That's in Yahuwah's time. And we have to be careful that we do not get out of line and begin to act according to our own timing, because of our lack of patience, our lack of waiting on Yahuwah. You see? So we've got to be careful that we don't jump ahead of Yahuwah. But there are times in the scriptures where the time of the wicked comes to an end, and Yahuwah raises up his own people against the wicked, those who even have oppressed them. But in the meantime, it's not for you to go out there prematurely and think that you're going to put the wicked in his place. You see, the wicked is going to do what he's going to do. So that's from the perspective of a nation. How about from the perspective of individuals? You're walking down the street and you see an unbeliever, and they're just doing what unbelievers do. Some people just get beside themselves, and how could they do that, and you just get beside yourself, and you're just so sick by it, and just can't understand how it is they could do that. I don't think I can explain fully what I'm trying to convey here, but when I see the behavior, I recognize it. Some people just get beside themselves. Unbelieving people. People who are unbelievers, you expect them to act set apart. That's an oxymoron. It don't go together. I see your flag, Akut. That's what they're going to do. You see? That's like, oh wait, one quick example, Akut. That's like me, listen. It bothers me. It does something to my ears. It does something to me when I encounter people, or I'm standing somewhere and people just going off, cussing and just carrying on. But at the same time, who am I to go and tell you, hey man, you got to stop cussing because I'm here? I don't feel I have that right at all. You see, and even if he stopped cursing, what did that do? Did that change him? So, and then somebody, the Christian, will walk away patting himself on the shoulder as if he did something, told the guy, hey, you can't be cussing around here. That didn't do anything. Didn't change him one bit, didn't change the guy, didn't change anything. You see, he gonna continue to be who he is unless Yahuwah changes him. Let me go ahead, Akut Shar.
Tuna, can I be heard?
Yes, you can. Nice and clear, Akut.
Okay, I'm going to try to be very brief. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Praise Father for bringing us here another week. Aki, would that also be like saying to the heathen that they're not supposed to be eating pork, or they're not supposed to, or they supposed to be keeping the Shabbat? Well, if they're not following Torah, then they can do what they want to do. Is that not correct?
Yes, that is correct, Akut. That is
And
correct.
I'll release the mic. Ta-da.
That's a great point, and I see a lot of people do that, like enforcing, trying to enforce the instructions of Yahuah on people who are not even in the household of Yahuah. You see, so take for example Acts chapter 15. It's a good guide for us. When Shahul and the Kapha and the other taught ones, when they were reaching out to a people who were asleep but were awakening to the truths of Yahuah and who they are, once they showed an interest in knowing Yahuah and in being obedient, what they did was they gave them a few simple instructions, and they left it at that and say, okay, as you continue to come back Shabbat after Shabbat, we will teach you as you grow. You see? So, but you have people who are going out there and they're telling people who have no concern about pleasing Yahuah, trying to lay down laws on them. These people aren't concerned, and we're not instructed to teach them. We're instructed to teach those whose heart Yahuah have turned to him. You know, so that's yes, and you know, it comes out of it comes from, and I'm guilty, I've done it, you know, and Yahuah reel me in, you know, but it comes out of zeal, you know, it comes out of zeal, but zeal without knowledge, you know. So but what's amazing is, to me, in the, you know, Yahuah speaks to us and he lead us and he calls us to see where we err. But what's amazing to me is I see people who have done it for years and decades and still continue to do it, and you can't tell them anything different, that no, you shouldn't, it's not up to you to do that, you know. So it's some people, if you tell them that, they say you are against Torah, you're against Yahuah, you know, and that's not what we're supposed to do. Yes, yes indeed. Yes indeed. You know, so if you're going to go out there and proclaim, there is a way that you can proclaim publicly, you see. But when it comes down to laying down laws on people who are unbelievers, that's different, you see. There's a way for you to reach out to people, to as you seek to bring them to a knowledge of who they are and to Yahuwah's expectation and his word. But it's another thing to go out there like a lawgiver, so to speak, or an enforcer, so to speak, you see. That's error. Indeed, indeed. All right. Well, family, I've certainly been enjoying the conversation, the comments, and the questions, and your input to this point. And yes, thank you, Aki. And that's talking about people now who are in the assembly. 2 Thessalonians chapter 3:14. If anyone does not obey our word in this letter, note that one, and do not keep company with him, so that he is put to shame. However, do not regard him as an enemy, but admonish him as a brother. So that's people now. If you have somebody who is in the assembly and you're giving them instructions, and they don't want to take heed, number one, what is being stated here is, you know, be mindful. Give them some time to grow. Okay? Don't just totally write them off. Don't treat them as an enemy. Still treat them as a brother. But at the same time, you don't just keep throwing stuff at them that obviously they don't have no interest in. You see. So you don't totally write them off. Leave the door open. So you don't totally write them off, because again, people take time to grow and to develop and to mature, right? we don't arrive at the truth. I haven't said this in a while. But the fact of the matter is, we do not arrive at the truth. We grow in the truth. We do not arrive at the truth. We grow in the truth. And so we have to keep that in mind. A lot of times people have the attitude that, number one, they treat us waking up and they treat us living for Yahuah like a Nike commercial. Just do it. You know? Here's Yahuwah's word. Just do it. And the fact of the matter is, even Yahuah knows that it's not just do it. That it takes time for people to grow and to develop and to mature. You see? So, we don't arrive at the truth. We grow in the truth. And what might be difficult for us to accept today, we might find a certain truth difficult to accept today. But it doesn't mean that that will be our response to it tomorrow, you see. And so we have to understand that about people as they awaken, as they come to a knowledge of the truth. They might not be willing to hear today. What they might not be willing to hear today, they just might receive tomorrow. But we got to exercise a level of patience in that regards. Again, a key to the Titus 3:10. Reject a divisive man after the first and second warning. Okay, so now when people are just find somebody in a place where they're just bent on doing their own thing, okay, he want to fight against the truth, have no interest in it now. He's not willing to hear. You see, there's a difference between somebody who fights against the truth and somebody who is just not there where they can actually receive the truth. You have somebody who will fight. I mean, they've built a tactic and a scheme, and their purpose is to tear down the truth. That's a divisive man. Okay? But then you have another person who is growing in the truth, and while they might not be able to receive it today, hear it, they don't agree today. You don't see them trying to tear down what they don't understand. You don't see them trying to tear down what they can't right now receive. They're just in a place where, and they might be honest to say, listen, I don't see it, I don't understand it, I don't get it, I'm not feeling it right now. You see? But tomorrow they might change. But then you have people who actively seek to tear down the truth. That's a divisive man, and that one you should have nothing to do with after you've warned them a few times. That's a scoffer. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, Aki. Yes, indeed. Okay. All right. Let's see. Now, I know I missed a few comments on the board. It's hard for me to keep up, family. So if you've posted anything and I missed it, please forgive me. All right. Okay. Well, what we're going to do, it's 3:39 here, and so what we're going to do now is we're going to prepare to go to the book of Mashali. I'm excited about going to the book of Mashali, chapter 11 today, and it is my hope that you will find it to be a baraka to you also, Mashpaka. But we're going to go to Mashali, Proverbs chapter 11. Proverbs chapter 11. Okay, that's something that just popped up. You might have seen that thing on my screen that just popped up. Well, family on YouTube might have seen it. Okay, accusation of another accusation of Mr. Trump. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do now, we're going to the book of Mashali. Today, family, I was tempted. You know what, Mashpaka? How about, because when I start Mashali, because this recording I've already been going for a couple hours, 2 hours and 40 minutes. What I'd like to do is start the study of Mashali with a fresh recording. so to speak. So how about we take our break now, and when we come back, then we start afresh. That way, when somebody go to watch the lesson, if they want to see Marshall Lee, they can see it from the beginning, instead of watching a recording for 2 hours plus before getting to it. So what we're gonna do is, I think what we'll do now is take our half-hour break here, Mashpaka, and then what we'll do is we'll come back and we'll get started with Mashali. We'll go ahead and take our break now. So praise Father, praise Yahuah, Aki. Yeah, we'll take our break now. We'll break for a half an hour, and then when we come back, we'll go to the book of Mashali. In the meantime, during the break, I'll put a few videos on. Fuse will remain open, but I'm gonna close. I'm gonna stop the YouTube and the Fuse broadcast. Okay, so let me take a break here, and I'll come back in a half an hour. I'll put some old lessons on Fuse, and we will restart the YouTube broadcast and the Facebook live stream when we come back to go to Mashali chapter 11, Proverbs chapter 11. Okay? Once again, I want to say Tuda Rabbah, family, for your patience, and Tuda Rabbah for your participation. And again, we give Yahuah praise, honor, and esteem. Hallelujah. So I'm going to go ahead and let me put some music on, stop the broadcast, and then I'll put a video on. Okay? So bear with me, family. Okay. All right, so that's what we'll do.